Welcome, visionaries. This is your host, the INFJ Visionary, and I thought I'd talk to you today about being alive. I've got the Temple Guardian in the background growling at an intruder, so I may have to keep him in line. Sorry for that. I saw a really interesting video on YouTube. I want to call out. It's on my phone here. Let me pull it up for you. Really good video. Really great channel. The name of the video is Life Explained in 24 Minutes hyphen Carl Jung. Intuias is the name of the channel. Big INTUEAS. Life Explained in 24 Minutes. And the amazing points this guy makes. And I'm not your total Jung fanboy, but I have to say that I feel he was a kindred spirit, and I feel he went quite a bit deeper into the mystery of life than many. I would include philosophers with huge books in that. Of course, Jung wrote plenty of books himself, but one of the points that this Intuios guy brought up several times, he said that you're not living life, life is living you. You are an expression of existence. And do check out that video. If you like what I do here, you'll like that really a lot. Because unlike myself, Intuios has written out a brilliant essay. What we do here, the INFJ Visionary, is basically an oracle for the NI, for the intuitive introversion aspect of humanity. I just turn on the recording. I have a lovely image selected, and I communicate with you for 10 minutes. That's what I do here. But it would be lovely to have a channel like Intuios does, where he writes brilliant essays that basically explicate the ideas of a brilliant man in a way that is very, very useful. So some of the ideas that he communicated in his video were this. One that he said that I thought was really great is that life is basically this oscillation between the conscious and the unconscious. The conscious being, say, the ego, and the unconscious being the self. And that the self doesn't know itself except through the ego, through the identified self. That's another way of saying ego, I think. That would be the self that occurs in correlation to your sensations, perceptions, thoughts, and ideas. Now, I have seen some material that claims that we do not generate our own thoughts. I don't know about that. That doesn't seem to be my experience, but you never know. There could be a bit of a disconnect there, or even a delay, between the thoughts that enter our minds and their generation. And it's quite possible that I do think it's quite possible that our brains potentially just function as, say, an antenna, like a radio has. A radio doesn't generate sounds, it receives radio waves and translates them into sounds, right? Or even there's no difference between that, and a television does the same thing with sounds and images, right? So those are decoded into a radio wave, and to pick up and receive radio waves, you need a radio transmitter and a radio receiver. Now, another point that Intuios made was that we are both the subject and the object, and that, I think, is a brilliant point. We are the subject of our existence, but we are also the object of our existence, and that is really good to know. And you might be just taking that for granted, although knowing that you listening to this broadcast are usually INFJs, I wouldn't be surprised if you've contemplated this. And we sort of touched on this in our last broadcast, where I was mentioning how I was surrounded by thousands of people in a big city, and it occurred to me how everybody was having an individual experience of the same event. We were all moving through the same place at the same time, and each one of us having a discrete experience of that, and yet it could be that our so-called differences in perception are not even as great as we think. That when we try to communicate how we perceive things, the language always changes the perception, right? So that's something good to think about. What was another good point from his video? So individuation. So the point of life, according to Jung, through Intuios, was that um, we should seek to be fully what we are, and I'm in agreement with that. The term individuation, I don't know if I have a complete understanding of it. My understanding of it is integration of the ego with the self, and this touches on a point that I've been wanting to make here for quite a while, because I've kind of hemmed and hawed about it. And I was talking about goals a little bit on one video, and I was talking about self-improvement on another video. But this is my issue with that. When the individual self, the self that's tied to the individual perceptions, comes up with goals and comes up with things that it thinks are important to accomplish, that's okay. That's the correct use of that particular aspect of our lived experience. However, I'm a little leery of it, because basically that those ideas go into the self, and the self through the unconscious, and the processes like synchronicity and karma, and all the other factors involved in being alive, brings those into experience, right? Brings those ideas into experience. But I think it's more valuable. Sorry, I had to talk to my temple guardian. It keeps growling at visitors. I think what's more valuable is to let your actual purpose, your actual goals well up from the self, not be some sort of overlay coming in from the ideas of being an individual and the goals that we sort of kind of scrabble towards. Oh, I'd like to be famous, or oh, I'd like to be rich, or I'd like to be extremely talented. And why do you want to be extremely talented? Well, probably because you'd like to be famous. Anyway, those are, goals, but are they worthy goals? Are they goals that are in alignment with what the universe wants to be, and with what would be best for you as an individual? I am leery of them, and I'm leery of trying to impose. In fact, I was on my Substack the other day, and somebody says, "Hey, do you like metaphysics?" Yes. Do you like philosophy? Yes. Do you like, hacking the subconscious? No. I don't want to hack my subconscious. That's very much like I was talking about in another broadcast, where I believe in this existence, I am a reformed wizard, a reformed magician. I don't have a desire to create magic spells to manifest outcomes. I'm much more interested in doing the will of God or the universe. I'm much more interested in moving forward with these sort of solid ideas and intentions that give life purpose, that well up from the self, as opposed to being overlays coming down from the ego identification center, which the self then fulfills. You understand? So hopefully you got something from this talk today. I certainly enjoyed the video that I recommended to you, and I think I got a few of the ideas across. Obviously, I would go check out the original and see what you think. Until I come back, keep on keeping on, INFJ.